14th of August 2025. We're looking at NAS 100 and US 500. We've just opened up for index futures. The time is 4:32 p.m. my time, but it's 9:32 in the New York session. So I want to draw out the opening range gap. Today we have a discount opening range gap. You can see where we've opened up. You can see the buy side liquidity pool and sell side liquidity pool that I'm anticipating US 500 and NAS 100 to trade into. I'm not really interested in price because we're neither at a weekly high or a weekly low. We're just trading inside the range. Today is Thursday. We've just had PPI numbers, and both indices traded lower while the dollar index had a spike higher. So we're trading inside the range. I'm not really interested in taking positions in this morning. I just want to tape read and see what PDRAs does price want to run into. Before I go into a 15-minute chart to annotate the opening range gap, we have these relative equal highs here that in US 500 we have relative equal highs here that were left when PPI came into the marketplace, and Nasdaq took out this high here, but we have an old high that I think they might run into. So we still have this sales liquidity pool resting below 23,711.8, so we might still run into these lows. So I've talked about the opening range gap. We've just opened up. We are 4 minutes into the opening price. We have relative equal highs here. If you look at the 15 minutes, so we can have a run into this, a run through this sell side imbalance by and efficiency, and then try to reach into these relative equal highs here. So yesterday we closed right here, 23,861. Today we've opened up on a discount at 23,778. So 778, 861. That's around more than close to 100 points worth of an opening range gap. So we're going to annotate that right now. So 23,861.7. There we go. So these are a discount opening range gap. So this is dark olive green. And then we have the opening price here. NAS 100 is already running into the midpoint of today's opening range gap. I'll look at that going to the lower time frames. 22. So I want to annotate also the midpoint, that the cost of approachment, that is 23,820 even. 820 even. And that is over later shade. So there we go. I want to go direct to a very lower time frame. That's the 1 minute. So you can see we've opened up here. We're trading higher. Immediately this candlestick closes, we're gonna have the first position favor for today. Right here. So we're trading through this sell side imbalance by efficiency that was formed from PPI. I was looking at this inversion favor gap while we were trading inside it right here. I tried to take kind of like a buy here, but that's not really my model. So we have the first position favor gap. Let's just mark that out, and then I'll talk about this inversion favor gap. So there we go. This is the first position favor gap for today. One hour in front. So it's really in the middle of the range, but I want to see these relative equal highs here run into. So we're trading higher. I've talked about this discount opening range gap. Today is 14. This is 30 in the open right there. So we've ran to the mid gap of today's opening range gap. That's algorithmic. So I want to notate also the opening range gap in US 500. Remember, we have this old high here. These are buy side liquidity pool right here. So this is 4, and this is in white. So we've ran this small buy sell liquidity pool that I highlighted here. And I want to see price go higher into these relative highs. Remember, we are trading below the opening prices. So we are trading at a deep discount. We've gone below yesterday's afternoon session's low for US 500. But in NAS 100, we went below yesterday's low, inside around 23,740s. So I want to annotate the opening range gap for today. Remember, we've opened up right here. We closed up right here. We are so in US 500. The opening range gap for today is very close to the opening range gap for yesterday. So I think I'm going to use the opening range gap for yesterday and just use the midpoint. You can see the mid gap for today is around the same level as the mid gap for yesterday. So I'm going to leave that yesterday's opening range gap, and we're going to use that as today's opening range gap. So we ran into this buy sell liquidity pool here. So this is dimmed out. So we ran into this buy side, very interesting. We have the first presented of a world gap here for US 500 right here. This here and this. So this is the first presented for US 500. There we go. So I've already talked about this buy sell liquidity pool here that they left this relative equal highs here. I want to see price go over through this sell side balance buy sell efficiency throughout the opening range gap for yesterday in US 500 and then go into these relative equal highs. In NAS 100, we've already made a run into today's mid gap. You can see yesterday's opening range gap. It was a huge opening range gap. You can see the levels here. So I want to see price trade higher and then reach into this buy sell liquidity pool resting above 23,890s. That's what I want to see price reach into. So again, I've talked about we've just had the opening price. Today is Thursday. We're anticipating the weekly high. We've already formed the weekly high. We formed the weekly high yesterday, and then we came inside the range. We've been inside the range from yesterday's price action, electronic trading hours, until this morning session. So we are trading inside the range. That's why I'm not really interested in price this morning, other than with the fact that we've ran into this opening range gap. So I was talking about this inversion for world gap here. Let me actually highlight these. This is a bullish inversion for world gap. This is supposed to be in white. Okay, you can see the inversion for world gap also in US 500. And this inversion for world gap in US 500 is a classic inversion for world gap. You can see the lower end of this gap is not really traded into. This perfect. This is bullishness. That's indicating bullishness. So US 500, we've not yet run into the middle point of today's opening range gap. That's very interesting. So I'll be anticipating price to start drawing into this mid gap. Again, I've said today we've opened up right here. It's so close to yesterday's opening range gap low, and yesterday's open is so close to today's opening range gap high. So that's really important. So we've traded into today's first presented fair value gap. That's very interesting. We've moved out of that inversion. First presented fair value gap for today in US 500. So we have the range. The range is from this high here to this low, and 6,454 is around the equilibrium level. So this first presented fair value gap for today is at a discount. So we are anticipating price to at least gravitate to 6,460. We are currently trading at 6,454. So that's around six points until we reach into that mid gap for today in US 500. NAS 100, we still have the opening range gap discount for today. That's 23,861.7. we've barely touched the first present of Valiga for today, and I want to see price starting to draw into this 23,862. So we are so close to today's midnight New York opening price. That's 846. So I'm anticipating price to start gravitating to 846 and then into today's opening range gap high. That is yesterday's close for regular trading hours. So you can see the inversion for the bullish inversion for Valiga here from a deep discount. I was looking at price right here while we're trading before we've had the opening price right here at 4:30 my time. Price here was looking bullish. I mean, you can see the swing low here. This low took out this swing low, and then we have bullishness. You can see the swing low on the middle point of this inversion for value gap. So this is kind of like a fractal right here. So this is bullishness. So I anticipated price to start drawing into this buy side, and especially now that we've had a discount opening range gap. So this is a buy, and then anticipate a run into today's mid gap. So we're consolidating inside this range now. The time is 4:43. We're waiting for the first macro of the session, and then we'll see whether we want to gravitate towards this buy side liquidity pool or price wants to start drawing into these lows again. So US 500, we're back into today's fast present for value gap. I really liked this reaction from today's fast present for value gap in US 500. But due to the fact that we are trading inside the range, again, if you look at a 1 hour chart or rather 15-minute chart, if you look at the 1 hour chart, we're neither trading at this weekly high or nor this weekly low. So we're in, to me, basically we're inside the range, but we're inside a premium. So it's really difficult to be going long, even though we have relative equal highs here that I want to see price trade into. It's really difficult for me to be going long and anticipating price to start drawing higher smoothly. And we're going to see what we mean by that. So we are consolidating around the upper portion of today's opening range gap, 23,838. I'm anticipating 23,890.2. So we'll draw into this high here, but how we draw into that high is going to be difficult. So we traded into 850. That is today's midnight New York opening price. So I want to see 861. That is today's discount opening range gap high. That is yesterday's close. So I wanted to see price gravitate into this high. So for me to be a participant in price today, we must get above this high here and maybe trade into this inefficiency. Best case scenario, I want to see price gravitating into these highs here. Then I'll be looking for a short because these are deep premium in regards to the day, I mean to the weekly range. So you can see we've touched today's midnight New York opening price. We've started trading lower. So it's really going to be difficult for price to wanna gravitate easily into this high here. It's not like the trade I had in on Tuesday's CPI. That was so easy. That was very good. You want to look for those kind of trades where your entry, I mean, price moves away from your entry very fast and goes into your target objectives. Those are the kind of trades that you wanna be looking for. So those kind of trades are not really in these market conditions like today's. And the reasons why I've stated all the reasons why we are not anticipating the market to easily move into buy sell liquidity pools or inefficiencies very easily. That's because we're trading inside the range. We're neither at a deep premium or not at a deep discount from a higher time frame perspective. So 23,850, we're trading at yesterday's opening range gap low, so close to today's opening range gap high. I like the way US 500 has retraced back into the first present fair value gap for today, and we're moving higher. So we are almost on the midpoint of today's opening range gap, or rather yesterday's opening range gap level. I mean, levels is the same levels. So 6,460s, we're trading at 457 now. I don't really think there's something I've left out in terms of a PDR rate that I'm looking at right now, right at the moment. Normally, I like to annotate a 15-minute BC or CB from PPI numbers, but I don't really see the need because we have the opening range gap. I'm supposed to highlight the quarter levels for this opening range gap, but we're gonna just eyeball them for today. So you can see US 500 inversion fair value gap here. Beautiful, beautiful price delivery here. Immediately at 427, that is 927, the New York session. We touched the midpoint of this inversion fair value gap, and then we started moving higher. So we moved into this buy side immediately after we opened up right here. So we opened up buy side imbalances and efficiency, spend some time here, and then we moved higher. Come back into the first present fair value gap for today, we're moving higher. So I want to see this mid gap traded into, that is 460. But the how price is going to reach into these price points is not really easy. It's really a back and forth price action, and I don't really like the way it is doing this kind of moving higher and having deeper retracement than I expect. So I've talked about this buy sell liquidity pool here for US 500. That is 6,700. 6,470s, 475s. So I want to see the whole of this range here. This CB, I want to see price go through this range here, offer buy side delivery through this down delivery here. This single candle here, I want to see price offer buy side through that inefficiency. So NAS 100, it's really I'm trying to reach into today's opening range gap high. We're so close to that opening range gap high. So there we go. 862, we're trading at 860 now, 861, 859, 860. Come on, 862. So close. So US 500, we've managed to get into today's midpoint of today's opening range gap. So there we go. 460 has been traded into. NAS 100, this candlestick high is 862.3. Beautiful price delivery there. I want to see now. I want to see these 23,891.0 now. And I want to see fast price delivery because there is a pool of buy side resting above this relative equal high here. Anybody who got this, who positioned themselves with this movement lower and they've not taken profits or their positions are not off, they're now regretting it. It's coming back on them, and they're really thinking that it's not going to take them out, but it's gonna retrace back and take them out above 23,809. 23,889, 23,890s. That's where it's gonna trade into. So we've managed to get through this CB here from this around this point here. We've gone through today's opening range gap, beautiful price action, and we've gone through this sell side imbalance bias and efficiency from PPI. Beautiful, beautiful price action. So I want to see 23,890s buy side taken out. So 23,877 NAS 100 and 6,463 for US 500. So look at how we're trading now. This is the kind of retracement that I don't really anticipate, honestly speaking. So we are 3 minutes into the first macro of the session. Let's just annotate this here. Together with the US 500. I cannot position myself into a trade right now because we are trading at a premium in regards to the opening range, in regards to the higher time frame buyers. We're trading at a premium basically, but I cannot be going in on a short because we have buy side resting above this high here. So price can easily gravitate into this buy side, and I don't really want to be amongst the people who are being stopped out because of going my protective stop above 890s. So we have a swing high here. Let's see if we'll manage to get into this fast present fair value gap, or it will just stop right here and then start gravitating into this high. So let's look at a 15-minute chart. If you look at this 15-minute chart, it's really there's really nothing here. To me, there's really nothing. I mean, we had a swing low here. This last 15 minute has been wonderful. We've moved higher. We've moved through most part of this inefficiency. So I've been talking about these relative equal highs here. Remember, we have a CB here that was formed from yesterday's 5:15. That's the silver bullet. That is 10:15. The New York session. We formed a CB. That's an internal range liquidity pool inside this range, from this high to this low, that has been formed inside today's low. So I'm anticipating a run into these relative equal highs here. There are protective buy stops above these relative equal highs. That's retail trading 101. They have protective stops above relative equal highs because they really think that price has formed a ceiling and is gonna fall from these relative equal highs here, not knowing that these are buy stops and price is going to go through those buy stops and engage them with smart money selling to those buy stops. So we've ran lower, trading into the middle point of today's opening range gap. You can see here. These are relative equal lows here. I don't really trust this kind of lows. If we get to go above this relative equal highs here and then start gravitating lower, I'll be looking for a short into these relative equal lows here. And then into the first present for value for today is going to act as a discount. So we're trading at 23,839 now on the upper portion, upper quadrant of today's opening range gap. That's interesting. Traders are now maybe looking for a trade, a breakout higher or low. I don't really know, because people like Willand are looking at that at the first 15-minute range, and they call that the opening range. I don't really subscribe to that kind of theory. I believe the opening range is the first 30 minutes, and then we get into the silver bullet, where we anticipate, if we are bullish, I'm anticipating a run into a buy sell equity pool. Then from that buy sell equity pool, I'll be anticipating kind of like a retracement lower, especially now that today is Thursday. I'm anticipating the other end of the weekly range. My weekly bias was bullish initially, and we're trading very far away on the high in that weekly range. So I'm anticipating kind of like the weekly high to be formed on Thursday or Friday, but this current weekly high was formed yesterday. Yesterday is the weekly high. That's why I'm not really subscribing to weaker prices, because we're not really at a deep premium in regards to the weekly range that I'm expecting, that I've been expecting. That's the correct English. Just want to extend this inversion for value gap out in time, because this is very important PDRA. So we didn't touch this bullish order block. We just wandered around this bullish inversion for value gap. Look at the bodies right here. The wicks do the damage. Look at the bodies trading inside the inversion for value gap. These are the first signatures that I'm anticipating when I'm looking at price. This was the first of the first signatures that I was looking for. So from this low here, we had this candlestick trading higher, and then you can see the midpoint of this inversion for value gap. We were trading higher. We came lower, and then we nearly touched the constant encouragement for this inversion for value gap, and then we started trading higher. And then you can see we traded outside these. These are 1 hour inefficiency. These inefficiencies from Tuesday's price action. These are buy side imbalances and efficiency, and this is the midpoint of that buy side imbalances and efficiency on the 1 hour. So going low into the lower time from 1 minute, so that's the midpoint of that 1 hour inefficiency, and we are staying on the upper portion of that 1 hour inefficiency. So that means we're gonna be strong, and we're gonna be moving higher. We have a discount opening range gap. We are trading at a discount. That means that we're gonna retrace through the whole of this opening range gap, and you can see here clearly we've done that. Relative equal highs here. That's why we're headed 23,890. I've called that. That's why we're headed. I like the fact that we've gone through this low here very fast like this. Maybe we might get into this inefficiency, then trade below this low here, and maybe trade into the first present for value gap, and then start headed into this buy side. That's kind of like what might happen. If we do that, then we'll be trading a lot more higher for today. But if we trade into this buy side here and leave these relative equal lows here, then we'll go above this buy side, then start trading into this relative equal lows here. So US 500, we've not really, these are relative equal lows also. I like the fact that we touched the first present for value gap and then rallied into today's opening range gap, mid gap. So from this low here, this candlestick low, that is 6,450.8, 6,450.8 to 6,460. Those are 10 points in US 500. These are 10 points. This is just something phenomenal in US 500. Phenomenal right here. From this touch here, that's the entry, buy, and then drawing higher into this mid gap of yesterday's opening range gap is the same levels as today's opening range gap. So 460 is the terminus, um 450 was the entry. Beautiful, beautiful run into that mid gap. So beautiful run higher. I want to take this screenshot right here. Beautiful. So we are inside the silver bullet time period that starts from 10 a.m. in the New York session, runs throughout. It's a 1 hour time period. Normally, I'm looking for a continuation, but today I don't really think we're gonna get a continuation because we've not even touched this CB. We are just trading inside the range. It's gonna be difficult today, honestly speaking. Now, I don't really know for sure whether we're going to trade into these relative equal lows here or this buy side here. So I have to wait for price to do one of those things. US 500, we've run through this CB here. We're running higher. We're trading so close to today's midnight New York opening price right here. And then we'll see whether we'll get into this buy side above 474s. Today is really a beautiful session to be tape reading. I've already explained why I'm not really looking for any kind of buy or sell inside this market structure. What I'm normally looking for is a deep premium or a deep discount in regards to the weekly range. Then I'm going to look for a short or for a long. Most part of when I'm bullish for the week, most part of the week when it starts Monday, Tuesday, going to Wednesday, I'm normally looking for bullish prices. Bullish prices, I want to see them. I want to see price the below the opening price. That is the basics of power of three. When I'm bullish, I'm anticipating the price to spend less time below the opening price. So I'm going to buy it below the opening price, and I'm going to look for buys below the opening price. When I come in front of the charts and I get the market has traded into a premium, that is we are trading above the opening prices. That is the midnight New York opening price and the New York sessions opening prices. Most times when those opening prices are so close to each other, it's normally a very nice trading session or trading day, because price easily gets into a premium or easily gets into a discount because those opening prices are so close. When they're so far apart, it's really difficult to tell whether price is trading at a discount or at a premium. So today these opening prices are so close. You can see here this the New York sessions opening price, this the midnight New York opening price. But the problem is we are not trading at a deep premium because we formed the weekly high yesterday. So today is on Thursday. We're trading inside the range. We're trading inside the range. When we're trading inside the range, I'm normally looking for relative equal highs and inefficiencies. And for today, we have relative equal highs above 23,889.9. So I want to see price head into this buy side here. Best case scenario, I want to see price take these relative equal lows here below the fast position fair value gap, then start headed into these highs here. That's the best case scenario. That's what I want to see. If we don't take these relative equal lows here, again, I've talked about this narrative. If we get into this buy side here, I'll be anticipating kind of like another inversion for value gap, a bearish inversion for value gap, then to anticipate lower prices and anticipate these relative equal lows here to be taken out. And the first presented for value gap for today will be acting as a discount. So we're trading inside a premium in regards to the opening range. We finished the opening range right here. Again, I've talked about we're inside a silver bullet. We're trading inside this very small range here. So we have this high, this swing high here, and this swing low here. This is the opening range for today. This is the opening range. If you take this opening range like this and then project it to the upside, then you can see 23,936.9 is on the upper quadrant of yesterday's opening range gap in NAS 100. So we can expect price to trade into these levels here. If we start trading lower, check this opening range, and then we'll see the projections right here. So if you start trading lower, you can see the sell side liquidity pool here. We might reach into this sell side liquidity pool below 23,710.6. So either or, we might trade higher or lower. I really don't have any idea of what price is going to do. Not everybody has an idea of what price is going to do every single time. Sometimes we just have to wait for the narrative to tell us what's the next move that price is going to move into, which liquidity is next in line, which inefficiency is next in line, and those kind of ideas. So it seems like it wants to take these typical lows here and then start moving higher. So US 500, we've not touched the midnight New York opening price for today. Interesting. So we are trading at today's opening range gap, mid gap for today. It's really going to be very hard for somebody who does not really know what they are looking for. These are the kind of days that price does not really move or go anywhere because we're trading inside the range. It's not like on Tuesday where we were at a short-term premium and I was looking for a short from an inversion fair value gap and trading into the mid gap of Tuesday's opening range gap. Tuesday's opening range gap was a premium, right? It was a premium. We opened up at a premium after taking out a buy side liquidity pool, and then we had an inversion fair value gap. Price rejected and moved away from that inversion fair value gap, and boom, sell it, sell it. I really love those kind of trades. I really love those kind of trades. You're aiming for the mid gap or the full gap closure. Whereas today we don't really have that kind of narrative in price today. Even though we had PPI today, it's really difficult for us to anticipate price to start drawing higher or lower because we are trading inside the range. We need that premium or at a discount. So we must wait for price to trade into a premium, and then we'll anticipate price to start moving lower, and then we'll be selling it. Or if we start moving into a discount, then we'll be anticipating rejection from a discount PDRA, and we'll see whether we'll catch on a buy. So we are stuck around 23,837. That's the upper portion of today's opening range gap for NAS 100. Let me outline this here. That is that's current opening range gap high, current opening range gap concept encroachment, and low. So we are stuck in the upper portion of today's opening range gap in NAS 100, whereas US 500 we're trading basically in the midpoint of today's opening range gap. This is this is ideally yesterday's opening range gap, but today's opening range gap is basically the same levels. So you're using yesterday's opening range gap as today's opening range gap. The narrative is the same, and we'll see what price wants to do. So I've talked about these relative equal lows here. Best case scenario, run these relative equal lows here and then start moving into this buy sell liquidity pool above 23,890. Remember, we've left relative equal highs here. That is not really by mistake. High here, high here, high here. This is not by mistake. We've left these relative equal highs here for future use, for future reference. So the time is 5:13. We are past. We are 13 minutes. I mean, we are 3 minutes past the first macro of the silver bullet. So remember, I did not really start with a higher time frame bias. If you look at Nasdaq from a daily chart, if you look at Nasdaq, we've gone above last month's high. So basically, we're trading at a deep premium. That's basically we're trading at a deep premium. We're above 23,731. We're trading at 23,836. That's around 100 points or more. So we have the current weekly high that was formed yesterday. Yesterday was very nice. I wish I was were in front of these charts. I could have been looking for a sell from these highs, yeah, and it was a very nice sell in the morning session. Immediately the index futures opened up. We formed the first present for value gap, which was the same PDRA as a bearish inversion for value gap, and we started trading lower for the most part of yesterday's trading. So today we are inside the range. We're neither trading at a weekly high or a weekly low. So it's really difficult to anticipate price to start trading into a buy sell liquidity pool or a sell sell liquidity pool because we are trading at a deep premium. That's for one, and then we're trading inside the range. It's really difficult. If you look at price action here, we have a lot of wicks here. It does not really want to go higher or go lower. So daily chart on Nasdaq, basically we're trading at a deep premium. We have a buy side imbalances and efficiency here. We've already gone through that with the PPI numbers. Very interesting. So I want to see price run into this buy side here. That is 890 because on a 15-minute chart, they are relative equal highs. Right here, relative equal highs. On a 4-hour chart, you can see the high here. That is 23,883.9. This high is 23,884. So 883, 884 just went above that high with one handle. Still, these are relative equal highs here, and I want to see price gravitating to these relative equal highs. I mean, I might be wrong. I mean, I'm welcome being wrong because this is really not my. It's not really my cup of tea. It's not really my trading setups. Don't really form like these. This is difficult price action. It's difficult price action, and if you start wrestling with this kind of price action, you will end up losing. The market will still be here. Come tomorrow, come today afternoon session, come tomorrow, come next week on Monday, whatever, the market will still be trading. But you doing the wrong thing and being impatient, that's really up to you. Honestly speaking, that's really up to you. So you have to be patient, wait for your trading setups to fully and collectively come together and then execute. So we are moving higher. You can see how we moved into today's opening range gap high right there. We formed a swing high here. Started moving lower inside this consolidation here with yesterday's opening range gap low. It's the same level of almost the same level as today's midnight New York opening price. A little bit of consolidation, and then we started moving higher. It's interesting. So my interest is on this CB here. I want to see whether we'll go through this CB or we'll try to reject that CB. I want to see price go over that CB and trade into this buy side above 890.7. So US 500, 1 minute. We're almost trading at today's midnight New York opening price. Let's see whether we'll get into opening range. The opening range gap high, and then the buy side above 6,474. Earlier on, I looked at relative strength, and it's obvious that US 500 is on the is more bullish. It's more bullish. I mean, it's more to the upside than NAS 100. And you can see, look at the way the low here has formed. I mean, these are a higher low than this one, but in NAS 100, it's more protected to the upside than NAS 100 right here. This swing low here, if you compare it with this swing low here, in US 500, it's more to the upside. It's more to the upside compared to NAS 100 right here. So US, even though they're both going to move higher, we've traded through this CB here. Beautiful. That is strength. Even though they're both going to go higher, US 500 is going to go a lot more higher, and you can obviously see how we have managed to get through that high here and above that high here. But NAS 100, we've not gotten above that high. Interesting. Relative strength from my hard time frame perspective, US 500 was more protected to the upside. So you can see the inversion of a buy here. Beautiful, beautiful. And then I'm anticipating around to the buy side, these relative equal highs here. So with this kind of price action here this morning, or rather this afternoon, it's really difficult to frame a trade right here, especially in NAS 100. It's really difficult to frame a trade. US 500, we had the first position for value gap here, give us an entry, and then I've talked about a run. This price run into today's opening range gap, consequent encroachment, that is mid gap right here. 10 points, beautiful, beautiful price run here. So we've had this retracement back into this range, and then we've moved higher, and right now we're trading above today's opening range gap. So we have an inefficiency here. Let's see whether they'll push it into these highs here still, or they'll start taking it lower. Neither or, I'm not really interested in price because I know what I'm looking for, and it's not really currently in the market conditions right now. It's not there. I mean, liquidity pools will always be there, even though with the bad price action, liquidity pools will always be there. Price will always draw into those liquidity pools. The problem is how price delivers itself into the liquidity pools. That's the real problem here. The time is 10:21 in the New York session. So this is this thin line right here. This is the lower quadrant of yesterday's opening range gap, and then this is yesterday's opening range gap, mid gap. This level here, in I think this is dim gray. This level is yesterday's opening range gap low. So if you look at price here, we've traded into this inefficiency. I talked about this inefficiency. I mean, we went through it, but I talked about how I want to see whether we'll reject from this inefficiency. And look at price here. We have a swing high here. Beautiful. We're trading lower now. So we've touched yesterday's opening range gap low. Interesting. Let's see if they'll still run this high now. Buy side imbalances and efficiency. Interesting. On the opening price. So this can actually be treated as a buy, but I don't want to be buying it because we are trading at a premium. Simple logic, right? So let's see whether they run into these highs here. That is 890.4. Let's look at a 15-minute chart for NAS 100 briefly. So if we look at the market structure here, we're headed higher. We have a buy side imbalances and efficiency here. We've gone through this CB, and now I want to see price remain on the upper portion of this CB and start trading into these typical highs here. Honestly speaking, I want to get so well in doing this to start trading huge contracts. If you really get good at doing this, really being patient and waiting for price to be at deep premiums and deep discounts, you really get to do a lot, building in huge positions and being confident that price is going to go where you anticipate it to go to. So we've ran into this inefficiency. I want to see price start rotating into these highs here. US 500, we've taken out this buy sell equity pool here above the opening price, and we started moving lower. So let's see whether we'll take out this low here or we'll start moving again higher after we've had this retracement. I want to draw the midpoint of today's fast present fair value gap here, and then extend also this inversion fair value gap out in time. 1 hour ahead. So again, we've traded into this here, this inefficiency. We are moving higher. I think we are finding support below yesterday's opening range gap low. This is interesting. So obviously we have this old high here. There's a buy sell equity pool resting here. People think we're gonna go short. People think that we've left this premium here, trading lower, but I don't really think we are done. I think our price wants to reach into this old high, that is 23,889.9. Time is 10:27 in the New York session. on 40 seconds. So the people who have been making money recently are bullish traders. I mean, they're really squeezing in on bearish traders, and people who have been making money right now, they're bullish traders. They're still holding on to their longs. They're still holding on to their longs. Look at the support above today's opening range gap. Look at here. If you just open this candlestick here, trade into that high. Look at that movement higher. That is bullishness. That is bullishness. So 23,890, I talked about this buy side. That's what we're gonna head into, and then we'll see whether we'll get into in yesterday's mid gap. That is 23,906. So we're almost there. Look at how we are trading on the opening price. That is the New York session's opening price, right there. They're adding some more, and then we'll get 23,890s. I remember when we were below 22,000, around 20,000, 19,000. Well, it has been a lot of weeks full of inconsistency, full of studying, full of creation of this narrative that I'm also trying to furnish. It's not really easy. It's not really easy to really believe price is going to trust these PDRAs or how price performs around these PDRAs. It's not really easy to trust price action in that regard. You must have really a skill. It's really a skill. So 23,875, we've touched 875. I want to see it go above 880s. 880s, that's 5 points. 5 points. Let's do this. 5 points. 5 points is something that price can jump and get those 5 points of trading into 880s. So 877, 3 points. Come on, let's go. 883, nice on 880. We've touched 880. I want to see 890 now. US 500, we are trading at 466. We're trading away from the opening range gap, mid gap. I think we are on the upper portion of today's opening range gap. Yes. I used to call this area here the area between the New York session opening price and midnight New York opening price a no man's land. I used to call it a no man's land because ideally when I was using the opening prices to trade, I want a deep discount. That means that I'll be buying below both opening prices. So when prices between the two opening prices is really at a no man's land. So we've reached into this buy side, beautiful Nasdaq. Nasdaq has reached into this relative equal highs here, just like I said it. Relative equal highs here. That is let's take this screenshot now. Dim this out. So that buy side has been engaged. Interesting. So if you look at this screenshot here, you can clearly see that we were trading inside this inversion fair value gap here, had a discount opening range gap, we traded higher. We have relative equal lows here. I was really anticipating price to run these relative equal lows and then start going higher, but we've ran lower and then start going higher. This is really very interesting. Now that we've ran these relative equal highs here, I'll really be anticipating price to start running into these relative equal lows here. So let's see what price has to do going forward. So I want to take the screenshot of this here together with the 15-minute. I talked about this CB here, and we've reached into that inefficiency. It's a very small inefficiency, but very important. So US 500, we still have some handles to still cover until we get into this old high here. These relatively equal highs here. If you look at the bodies, this one and this one, these are relatively equal. But my interest goes way beyond this high here, and then we have this one here. So that high right there. So when we are at a place like this here, I really love annotating this inefficiency, and then we see whether price has to wants to find support above that inefficiency and try to reach even more higher. So the time is 5:34 my time. In New York, it's 10:34. In London, it's 3:34 in the afternoon. Interesting. So most importantly, in New York, it's 10:34 a.m. Still a.m. So price has engaged this buy side. We have this inefficiency here. Let's see if we'll go through that inefficiency and start trading into these lows here. Remember, US 500, we still have this buy sell liquidity pull above 6,474.3. $23,890 now. In regards to the daily range, we're trading at a premium. That's the reason why I cannot go on and start buying all this here, because we've been moving higher. I cannot be buying this. Never. Not me. Not really me. No. Let's look at US 30. Well, we're trading with US 30. It's really on this low. It's really weak in this low here. This is interesting. This is very interesting. Whereas Nasdaq is trading into these highs here. US 30 is still, the Dow is still on a discount deal. That's interesting. That's really give me a feedback that we might start trading lower. So my interest goes into this possible inversion fair value gap. So we've just touched in this gap here. And look at prices moving higher. Interesting. So I like the idea that we are trading on the upper portion of this BC. We formed a swing low here, bullish candlestick, very interesting. So we're trading around yesterday's opening range gap on the lower quadrant. We've gone above today's opening range gap. Very interesting. You can see how we've touched here and then we started moving higher. We moved above this high here, and I mentioned this buy side above 23,890, and we've gone through that. So we have yesterday's opening range gap, mid gap right here at 906. I want to see price go higher and try to gravitate on the upper portion of yesterday's opening range gap. That's a deeper premium. So all of this movement higher here, I outlined it. I talked about this here, opening range gap, price trading into the mid gap, and full closure of that gap. Relative equal highs on a 15-minute time frame, and we drew into those highs here. Beautiful price action. If you look at this gap here, I talked about this here, buy it, and finally into this here. But buying it right here is really difficult, not really my cup of tea. Now, especially that we are not really below the midnight New York opening price. We are below the New York session opening price, but we're not below the midnight New York opening price. So it's really difficult for me to trust this movement higher. So we've traded inside this inefficiency here. Beautiful. We're trading higher now. 23,901, 902. I want to see 906. US 500 still buy side resting above 6,474.4. We're trading almost at the daily high. So we're trading at a premium. Very interesting. So the time is 5:40. 10 minutes, we'll get into the second macro of this silver bullet time period. So we managed to get into 906. Beautiful. In Nasdaq, that is midpoint of yesterday's opening range gap. Look at that. Beautiful run higher. So US 500, we've managed to get through today's opening range gap. So we've got into the mid gap, bit around on the upper portion of that mid gap, and then finally we've ran into the upper portion of that mid gap. So I want to see price run into 6,474 and maybe reach into 680 if we're really bullish. If you look at a 15-minute chart for US 500, we still have these relative equal highs here. That's what I want to see price gravitate higher into. Let's look at a higher time frame, 4 hour. So these weeks here, very important, and price will draw especially into this bullish week here. I mean premium week here. We're gonna get into that level that is around 6,475, 475. That's what we're gonna get into. So 23,897.3. Very slow price action this afternoon. Very slow price action. So 3,902. I'm happy that we've gotten into 900s. Soon we'll be at 24,000. It will really be interesting when Nasdaq will be at something like 30,000. That will be so crazy. Maybe in the next 2, 3 years to come, Nasdaq will be at 30,000, right? Or maybe if we have something like a WAR, if you know what I'm saying. Maybe Nasdaq can tank if the dollar index start gaining momentum higher, longer term, longer, very longer term. But the dollar index right now is weak. I don't know whether it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I had news about Saudi Arabia. I don't know, Brazil. They've come up with their own coin or something to do with that. And most investors are headed into that kind of like a currency for safe haven. So the dollar index is going to be a little more weak, not a little, but it's going to be a lot more weaker. It's going to lose its value a little, but we are yet to see. I mean, the dollar index is the most powerful currency in the world right now. We'll have to see soon. They talked about Bitcoin or crypto, but I still think crypto is still not really as powerful as the dollar index. Bottom line is the dollar index still runs the show. So we're still trading higher, 23,906. And still, let's see if we'll get into the upper portion of yesterday's opening range gap. That I think should be very interesting. So we've gotten above these typical highs here. The other inefficiency on the 15-minute time frame is this inefficiency here. It's on a very deeper premium. So we've gone above buy side. We have this as we had this here. It's a very small inefficiency, but that's what an objective. We reached into that. Next inefficiency is a very small one above this kind of stick here. So that's also an area of interest. And then we'll see whether we'll get into these inefficient. That's around 23,400, 944s, 950s. That should really be interesting with today's price action. US 500, I want to see buy side right now. Very in the next few minutes, I want to see this buy side right now. I want to go briefly through what's happening on US 30, and then we'll also look at the dollar index, and then we'll come back for these index futures. So US 30, 5-minute chart, we're moving higher. 1-minute chart, you can see the strength here. We have the whole of these inefficiency to rebalance. So I'm expecting price to start moving through this whole inefficiency. Dollar index on 15-minute chart. Let's look at what's happening here. So we had obviously PPI. You can see the bullish movement here. Good, and we had this weakness. I think this is US 500. We've gone above that buy side. It's gonna be interesting. So the dollar index, we ran higher, and then we ran through this week here. This is strength. This is strength of the dollar. So with this trend on the dollar index, I'm really anticipating kind of like weakness. So 5-minute chart, the dollar index, while it moves lower, I'm anticipating US 30, the Dow, Nasdaq, and S&P to start moving higher, a lot more higher, especially now that I'm looking at S&P. Look at that. We've ran that buy side. So I'm going to take this screenshot, US 500. So this is dimmed out, buy side is out. Buy side is out. I talked about all of this. Let's take this screenshot. There we go. I don't really want to go over through this screenshot. You can see the first present fair value gap here, buy. I talked about this run into the mid gap, interesting. And then buy sell liquidity pool here. We're trading higher, slowly by slowly, slowly by slowly until we got above 6,475. Very, very interesting price action right there. So let's look at Nasdaq and US 500 side by side. Now that we've gone above this bicep, I'm anticipating. I mean, not anticipating, but I'm watching these inefficiency here in US 500. So NAS 100, we've gone to the upper portion of yesterday's opening range gap. So we might go through this premium opening range gap. We might go through it through the whole of that range into this high here, that is 23,934, and maybe get into 23,962. So we have a few seconds before we start trading with the second macro in this silver bullet time period. Let me just highlight this. I thought I highlighted this, but you can clearly see it's not really there. There we go. So 922. I talked about 940s, 950s. US 500, 6,476. That's around 6,480s. I've been recording for 1 hour and 17 minutes just watching these indices move higher. It's really crazy. The crazier thing is when they move high, it's not like it's a direct ticket to be buying it. It's not a direct ticket to be buying it. So we have a PDRA here. We have this efficiency here. I've highlighted this one here for US 500. I'll highlight also this one here for NAS 100. Right here and right here. Let me extend this out in time. So we're gonna watch this inefficiency. If it will act as an inversion, if we start trading with strength below it, now that the macro has come into the marketplace, we started the time macro. I'm looking at this inefficiency here. At the same time, I'm looking at this inefficiency on US 500. Now that we've gone above this buy side right here in the 15-minute, very, very interesting. We've gone even through this old high here. This high is 6,474.4. 6,474.4, and we've gone above this high, 6,477. So 3 points above that high. Beautiful, beautiful poke into that buy side. So ideally, we're trading at a premium. I'm anticipating weakness now. Let's see, we'll start to move lower into this low here, and maybe throughout the whole of this range. We have a swing low here. This low here is 895. This low is 894 and this low is 897. So these are swing low here. It will be best if we had price reject this inversion fair value gap and then trade through this swing low here. That will be very, very good. But if we start again headed into this inversion fair value gap here and on the upper portion of that inversion, possible inversion fair value gap, then we might get above this high here once more and trade to the upper quadrant of yesterday's opening range gap. Trend is your friend, right? The trend is your friend until it's the end of the trend. The trend is your friend until it's the end of the trend. Interesting, interesting ideas. Let's look at this encroachment for this possible inversion of a world gap here on the 1 minute. You see that? I want to see a very nice rejection lower, not just a slight rejection. I want to see a very nice rejection. So we're trading inside a macro time period. So I really am positive for lower prices now that everybody has been making money with bullish prices. I'm expecting price to start rejecting these inversion of a value gap and start trading into this range here. So I've talked about this swing low here. I want to see price move below this swing low, then I'll be convinced to go short. Otherwise, we might still go above this high. I like the fact that we've stayed below this inefficiency. We've gone below this inefficiency and we've stayed below it. We've not really traded into the upper portion of this inefficiency. I like the fact that we've done that. Let me put this here on this high. So we've gone below this low here. I think so. That is 894.9. This low is 894.1. So we've gone below that low. Interesting. This to me is looking like a retracement. It's not really looking like it wants to devour into these lows. This is just looking like a retracement. And we might go even a lot more higher. Or we might trade into an inefficiency and then start moving higher again. So look at US 500. Obviously, I want to see rejection here. Let's briefly look at US 30. Interesting. So US 30, that's the Dow. It's not really bullish. I mean, it's bullish. If you look at this 1 minute, we have to go through this the whole of this range. The relative equal highs here, so we might still be trading higher. So it's really scary to be going short on in Nasdaq. I like this idea here. We've gone lower. Look at this 15 minute. I really love this 15 minute if we close below this candlestick here. That will be an outside candle with a very nice swing high. That means we'll trade into this range. But we will close this 15 minute in the next 3 minutes on the upper portion of this range here, then that's really kind of like a doubting Thomas kind of scenario, and I won't really like it. So I like the fact that US 500 we've gone through this inversion of a value gap here. We're trading lower. I like the way it's behaving here. So Nasdaq, we've not really had any retracement into a gap. We've just started moving lower inside this macro here. So we are back into 23,873, back into the opening price. This is the New York sessions opening price. This is the midnight New York opening price. So these are very nice and interesting rejection from these highs. So from 23,920 to 23,880, those are 40 points worth of movement right here. From this inversion fair value gap here, that's around this candlestick's high is 23,907. 907 to the opening price, that's around 874. Let's say 877, 797 or 7. Those are 30 points. More than 30 points, actually. More than 30 points. So I talked about these relative equal laws here. These are sales liquidity pool resting here just on this fast present fair value gap, just above the fast present fair value gap. So I'm looking at this inefficiency here. Now my mind is like, do you go short or do you not go short? First things first, obviously we're trading at a premium in regards to today's range, but price does not really behave like it goes lower a lot. I like that behavior right there. I want to see a rejection of that inefficiency, and then we'll see whether we start trading lower. But I don't really think it's going to behave like that. I'm not really sure. I'm not really 100% sure it's going to behave like that. So we have another inefficiency here. This is also interesting. So we've moved away from this inefficiency. Beautiful. Let's see if we reach into this low here or these relative equal lows here. I like the way US 500 we've moved lower. So ideally on the 1 hour chart, we formed the hourly chart, the hourly high here, and then we've moved lower into the close right here. So if you look at this 15-minute, this is an outside candlestick here. We took out the high here for the previous 15-minute candlestick. We've taken the low, but I don't really like this closing price. I wish we closed on below this candlestick here. Then I could really be trusting this as a sell and then anticipating price to start trading lower. But with this kind of price action here, this is not really, this 50-50 to me. This is 50-50. So I'm just going to let that trade slide, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm going to just read it and see whether we go lower or we start moving higher into this inversion fair value gap once more. So price is spending a lot of time inside this inefficiency. I don't really like that. We're trading at today's New York sessions open price 874. Remember, we're trading inside the range. We're either at a premium or a discount. So I anticipated this kind of price action here is not really something that is new to me. So if I were to sell this gap here, this candlestick high, that is 23,873, 873, stop at 883, just above this inversion, I mean this CB, and then I could be anticipating a run into this candlestick high is 873, 843. Those are 30 points. So 843 is around just below the midnight New York opening price, right here. So we're still trading higher. We're still stuck around the inefficiency CB. The time is 6:04. We're in the second macro of the silver bullet. I mean, the silver bullet time period is over. That runs from 10 to 11 a.m. the New York session. My time is 5 to 6. So 10 minutes past 6, that's still the macro. So I'm just watching it, and we'll see how we trade around it. So we're back on the opening price. So I've talked about these relative equal lows here, from these lows here to this high. And I talked about this. I talked about if we get into these highs here, then I'll be aiming for these relative equal lows. So from this low here to this high, you can see the equilibrium level is on 23,871. So this inefficiency is on the premium level. Honestly, I don't really like this inefficiency. I like this here. We have relative equal highs here. Price can really turn and run these relative equal highs here first, and then start moving lower. So we've moved away from this inefficiency. We're trading on the opening range gap high. Today's opening range gap high, that is 23,864. US 500, we're back into today's opening range gap. Very interesting. I don't really like this kind of movement. It's not really the kind of movement that I like on my positions. I like fast movement, and it's really staying inside this range. And I could really be impatient if I had a sell right here above 23,873 and aiming for 843. But let's just see how it delivers. So we've currently formed the daily high right here. Very interesting. So 606. I want to see these relative equal highs here rain out, and then maybe we start moving lower, then we can move into these lows. I'm starting to think that turtle soup really work very well in close ranges. When we're trading inside the range, we're either trading at a weekly high or daily high. I mean, not daily high, but at a weekly high. That is at a deep premium or a deep discount. Turtle soup really work very well. So look at price here. If I was at a sell at 873, right now I could really be losing my mind, because price is trading back into 873. We're trading at 872 now. So these are relative equal highs here. I talked about these relative equal highs here. I'm expecting price to run these highs here and then maybe start moving lower if it were to move lower. I've talked about that, how that 15-minute candlestick has formed. I would really like it if we closed on the previous 15-minute candlestick's low, but we've closed inside the range, even though we've taken out the low. So I'm waiting for something like an optimal trade from this high here to this whatever low that has been formed here. I'm waiting for a deeper retracement into this range and then maybe a run into this low. Price still weak, consolidating around 860s and 875s. So we're back at 870s now. We have a little bit of seconds before this 20-minute macro comes to an end. US 500 is a lot more weak. Anybody who got inside a sell in US 500, it's better price delivery than NAS 100. So we're trading lower, 23,862 now. In NAS 100, we're trading on the upper level of today's opening range gap. Very interesting. So we are moving lower. We're moving to 857. That's interesting. Let's look at a 15-minute chart now. Swing high here, outside candle stick. We've ran this low here. Very, very interesting. So we're trading at 855. Let's see if we'll get below 845. So I like the fact that we formed a swing high here, and then we've had lower pricing. So this tells me that we're going to get into this swing low here, and maybe inside this internal range liquidity pool, buy side imbalances and efficiency right here. But look at this price action. This is something that I will not really be interested in. If you start trading big lot sizes, this is not the kind of movement that you want on your positions, honestly speaking. So far from 874, we've just moved into 8. The low here is 850. That's interesting. 24 points worth of movement, but it's not really the best price action that I want to be interested in. So we are consolidating around today's opening range gap high in NAS 100. US 500, we're trading on the upper portion of today's opening range gap. on the upper quadrant of today's opening range gap, 6,465. Let's see if we'll get back into 6,469. Ideally, when I'm planning to trade, when price is trading at a weekly high on a Thursday or on a Friday, at this point in price action, my trade could have panned out. I mean, it could have already panned out. That's what I mean. So the time is 6:15 my time, 6:13 p.m. my time. In New York, it's 11:13. So we're getting into London close, and that time period already. The daily high as most of the time it has already been formed. So today's daily high, you can see it right here. That is 23,924. I think if we challenge this daily high, that could be a very interesting place to be going in on a short. So today we are trading inside the range, and we've moved into these levels here. You can see the inversion fair value gap. How we've rejected that inversion fair value gap, and I want to see price head into this first presented fair value gap discount. I don't really like the way it is trading around this inefficiency here. Then we've left it. I mean, it's up and down, up and down, up and down. This is nothing. This is not really what I would anticipate on my positions. So I don't really think there's nothing much interesting for today. Maybe we'll tape read the afternoon session. So I think I'm gonna close this up. So until next time, adios.